Tonight, we are delighted to present Literary Algorithms, the Evolution of Literature in a Digital Age. It's the second chapter in our Tech Forward programming series, which will decode and unravel the digital literacy landscape where text meets tech. Thank you all for being here in such big numbers. I look forward to a fascinating session, and over to you, Sanya.
It's the age of the algorithm, and at a time where you have Bookstagram and Book Talk, and you can read book lists from Barack Obama and Bill Gates, and you can also listen to poetry from ChatGPT and its cousins. What are the possibilities and what are the perils of this new format, and how can we as readers and writers and creators use this and also guard against, protect ourselves from the perils of it, of this new form. And so to decode this, we have like a star panel here. So I'm going to start by asking you, Meghna, and Meghna's a novelist and she writes different genres, but you wrote a story. You got AI to write a story, right? What was the experience like? Did you like the story as a reader? Did it work for you?
I was so relieved when I conducted this little experiment, primarily for this talk, by the way, because I was pessimistic, like you, Tanuj, and I said I'm going to be replaced, I'm going to be redundant in another few years. But suffice to say that you might see my holographic image here, speaking and anticipating my thoughts, but it's going to take 5 to 10 years more. So AI is smart, it's helpful, but like I said earlier, it's infallible. So it's a supplement, but it's not a substitute yet for great literature. So I typed in a prompt in ChatGPT and a couple of other apps that had been recommended for writing short stories that claimed to write even novels, and something as simple as a love story in Bhatinda. The AI algorithm throws this up somewhat, I'm paraphrasing here, of course. Daisy and David sit in a football field and have cupcakes as Mr. Coach watches them. What does this have? The context is lost. So AI, as it stands today, is at least not a threat to Indian writers. And it really gave me great solace to see that AI has not yet been able to anticipate the great heterogeneity of our culture, the deep complexity of the human experience, the lived experiences of humans, I think cannot be replicated yet by machines. You can, the algorithmic reasoning, the computational analysis, the NLPs, they're fantastic for research. They're fantastic to help you structure perhaps your characters, even structure some of your plot points. If you're facing a block as a writer, if you're facing writer's block, it can help you sort of brainstorm ideas. So it can be a companion in that way. It can even help you edit and proofread. But those are its limitations. The lived experiences of human beings, the emotional complexities of being a human, the fundamentally flawed experiences of us as human beings cannot be replicated.
So, Gayatri, it would be interesting to know that are the barriers really down, or have they just changed? Like when people come to you saying, we want to ghostwrite a book, what's the what do you tell them in terms of what are their barriers? Are there money barriers? Are there time barriers, creative barriers? What's the landscape like?
The amount of people, the number of people who want to write a book, who think it's very easy to write a book, which is, I don't mean this in a disparaging manner, but once they start getting down to the process, they realize that even after hiring a ghostwriter, how labor intensive it is for them. The rise in personal branding has been immense. So from my perspective, I'm seeing a rise of these kind of requests. I can't keep up with, the requests fast enough. The other thing is that you can no longer be just a doctor. You no longer can be just an actor. There is a 24/7 news cycle going on. Content is 24/7 essentially in terms of what you're supposed to do. So if you are trying to say, okay, I'm going to be like the writer's past, like a Vikram Seth or whatever, and disappear into the into your fancy house in Shropshire or whatever it is you're doing, writing a book, and then come back after 7 years, there are many writers arguably equally or not equally talented who have taken your place. So the sale of a book no longer depends on the book itself. The sale of a book depends on the environment you create and the presence you create about that particular book.
Because Mansi, you advise parents on what, how to get their children to read. So looking at the new generation, what are some of the fears we need to deal with? What are some of the things we can do as parents and as our generation to kind of help protect our children, at the same time to help them utilize these technologies?
Class 10 was the last class that probably learned through textbooks. Children today are not learning through textbooks. YouTube is a larger school than the schools that we have in brick and mortar, right? So they are born, we are digital adopters, they're digital natives, which means that they learn in 3D, right? Now the minute you make it flat with just paper and text, it does not appeal to them. Kindle has been there 10, 12, 14 years ago, but today it has become my first sort of preference, because everything that I highlight goes back into, it goes back into things that I've highlighted. It comes back to me when I actually need it. So I've made that technology functional for me, right? I think how you use technology to make it interesting, make it more applicable is very, very important.
And you said earlier you're pessimistic. So is AI something that we need to fear? And what's your take on it?
AI is not interested in living a life anyway, right? It has no hankering for lived experience. It doesn't want to feel any emotion. All it is trying to do is, writers with all their lived experience, their heartbreaks, their lived experience, again, what do? They produce text. They produce sentences which have, for every language, specific rules, subject and object, and we can go to grammar there. And it is trying to mimic that. That is all it is trying to do. So there is, for AI to produce very, very affecting text that can make you cry, it does not need to have lived any sort of life. That is proven by ChatGPT anyway, even today. And so my pessimism is not just about what it will do to writers. Writers are creative people, maybe will find something else. But what it will do to very labor-intensive economies and countries, for example, India.